Hi everyone, welcome to my review of George Sherman's Big Jake from 1971. So yes, we are back once again to discuss a Western film on the channel. This time around, a John Wayne film from the 70s, the final George Sherman directed film, and yes, the final film as well to star John Wayne and Maureen together. So yes, very interesting film here, and look forward to discussing it today. First of all, a spoiler warning for this discussion. If you haven't seen this film, I really would recommend this one, and obviously seeing this before you come back to the video, because there will be plot points, the ending will be discussed in this video, so I wouldn't want to ruin the film before you've seen it. So yes, with that said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film. So yeah, a fascinating one to discuss today. Another John Wayne film, of course, a classic, legendary actor to me. Absolutely love this actor, and obviously as well, the final George Sherman film. I haven't actually seen any George Sherman films before. This is my first, but yeah, this was on my radar for a while, Big Jake. I wanted to see this for many, many years, and this is the latest, actually, John Wayne film that I have seen personally. It's one of his final films, really, and being in the 70s, and just really interesting to see this. Maureen O'Hara as well. They were quite the pairing. This was their last pairing in this film, and she didn't act for another 20 years, and that's quite sad. But yeah, she's in this film as Martha. We start off on this ranch near the US-Mexico border, and of course, 1909 is the year. So it's a very interesting time when modernisation was really taking hold, and we have a lot of the old versus new ways, portrayed in this film, weaponry, vehicles, and just tactics, and the way to kind of this whole rescue mission that ensues. Is kind of is based on this, and there's a lot of banter back and forth, but it is also very interesting to see how this is portrayed. I thought there was a lot more going on to this film than just a simple rescue mission. But of course, the intro shows this ranch being attacked, quite a massacre here. A lot of people dying very brutally. This is quite a brutal film, actually. A lot of brutal moments. A John Wayne film to have this is quite interesting, and I think just that leads to, of course, Ethan Wayne's little Jake being kidnapped, taken, and from the Fane Gang, and Richard Boone, plays the leader of the Fane Gang. He basically sets this ransom of 1 million, and that's, yes, basically the rest of the film is Big Jake, and different members as well, kind of trying to get little Jake back, and towards Mexico, and take down this gang, really, and it's kind of this rescue mission, also revenge in that sense as well. Once the film gets going, sets into gear, after that intro on the ranch and stuff, we have really this comedy adventure Western film, and I found that quite fascinating. Obviously, Patrick Wayne plays James, and we have, of course, Christopher Mitchum playing Michael, and the two sons in the film of Jacob and Candles, and John Wayne, of course, being the real-life father of Patrick Wayne, and obviously Ethan Wayne as well. Is really cool, and I think the chemistry between these three, kind of John Wayne and the two sons in the film, Christopher Mitchum, and of course Patrick Wayne, is really, really good. I loved a lot of this, actually. I think the comedy really, really works, and it just became a very, very comforting, charming adventure film. And I think the intro, wasn't my favourite. I think there was a few things where I wasn't perhaps, that invested, but I did appreciate it, and I thought straight away, the film opens up in such a way. We have that kind of intro credits, the title sequence there, absolutely loved, with the narration, and just the way it kind of leads into the actual film. I really, really loved that. That was quite stunning, and same can be said for the entire film. The way it looks is absolutely stunning. Doesn't feel like a B-Western at all. It really is shot so well. The way the scenery is captured, at times the staging of the actors, and I think it is quite simple at times in that sense, but just even the way it's showing them progressing, going on the horses and such, I really, really loved, and I just think, yeah, the visuals to this film are absolutely stunning. The music as well is very nice, and it's quite playful at times. As I say, this is a comedy, quite a big comedy, this one, throughout the main bulk of the film, and it has some kind of raw, brutal moments as well. The themes, the way it's portrayed, and also just different shootouts and moments in this film. It is quite violent, and I just think it was a very interesting mix. And I thought John Wayne was great in this. Real presence once again, as always, and a bit of a different role for him. This kind of aging gunfighter that he's portrayed as, and it's one of the latest roles, as I say, and they did kind of play into that in the film, in the plot, his actual character, but it's still really the same kind of hilarious, and just likable John Wayne, and in this film. And I think just the way he kind of plays off different characters was a little bit different, but it's still that really charming, enjoyable kind of banter at times, and his kind of kind of dry sense of humour that he had in a lot of his films and just in general. And I think that it was so well done and highly enjoyable and not really too different, you could say, to a lot of his other roles. It just is obviously, in terms of, he's more, it's an aging character that he plays. That's really the only difference. And obviously the kind of wanting to rescue little Jake is a little bit different, you could say, to some of his films. But it's still that familiarity, and I loved John Wayne in this film, and particularly as well the chemistry, the interactions he had with other characters, and just in general his presence, as always, was just truly legendary. He just didn't really need to do anything at times. It made it seem like that because he just had this kind of the way he stood, the way he walked, the way he just turned around. All these things he had it down to a T. He just really perfected this, and I think just classic, screen presence, and he is just one of my favourite actors. Very underappreciated, and just kind of at times, referred to as more of a simple, basic actor. But I really disagree. Personally, I think he was one of the great Western actors and one of the great, just actors of all time, in my opinion. So yes, highly enjoyable to see John Wayne once again, of course, in this film. We have Sam, played by Bruce Cabot, and I really loved this character. The kind of dynamic between him and John Wayne really worked. There's a really funny moment. He's kind of the scout of the film, and at night time he just kind of goes off. He's sent off by John Wayne to report on the area and the enemies, and he gives a very precise reading of this quite instantly. At night time as well, and it was just quite funny the way he came back and reported back to John Wayne. It was just kind of done in a very funny way, like an NPC really, and it's just it's quite a silly film at times. This is it doesn't take itself too seriously throughout the entire film, although it does have kind of serious themes, quite raw moments. It's very nice to kind of watch this film and to experience it as a comedy, one that is quite light at times, and just focusing on the characters, and the chemistry. A lot of banter in this film, and I just loved, the two sons in this film. Ethan Wayne as well gave a very good performance, as little Jake, and it is, kind of a film full of heart in that sense as well. Them just simply trying to get back, little Jake to the family, and as well, Maureen O'Hara, really gives an interesting performance as well. She is, at first it seems like there isn't too much kind of in the way of really emotion with some of the characters in the intro, but when the film gets going, I did feel this. And as well, the dog in this film, I absolutely loved, and it's just simply referred to as Dog, and I just think the way in which it assisted John Wayne throughout the film. At first, when some of the other characters don't come into it, it's just him and the dog really, and it's just a very nice warm kind of relationship dynamic. In the end, though, we'll discuss the final act now. I think that is when some things kind of fall apart a bit, or don't really come together in the way I think it should have done. For example, with the dog, it's just this. We've had this throughout the whole film. The attachment between the dog and John Wayne, and in the end, is killed, and I think there wasn't really much of a reaction to that. We have a brutal death of one of the gang members, who does this, but really there's not much of a kind of emotion felt, between the characters and the dog, just dying. And of course Sam as well, a great character in this film at times. Loved this friendship, we have, and the kind of dynamic between him and John Wayne's character of Jacob. But then there isn't really much of a noting after that, of this, and acknowledging the death of a few of these characters, and the very final shots, the freeze frame, while it is quite nice and comedic as well, and a nice final line, I think it's just a bit abrupt. I thought there would be a bit more of a wrap up, or just any sort of closure really at all, for this massive adventure film really that's taken place. And I just think the fact we didn't see Maureen O'Hara as well, in the final scene, kind of reuniting with little Jake, it feels like it wasn't really. It was a bit rushed there, and things just came to a very abrupt end there, and I think it did undo a little bit, especially with the dog. The fact that and Sam as well, how that was kind of wasn't really much of a care there in the end for these two characters. Of course, I just think that did kind of undo some of the things in the final act, and the actual. How this was more felt, with these relationships. It did take away from that, a little bit for me, and it kind of a bit of a throwaway, kind of way in which it culminated. Just for my liking, I would have really liked more closure, more wrap up, and that would have made the film even more, emotional and kind of in that sense, mythic really, for this simple, straightforward, adventure rescue mission. I think it did have a lot of themes and a lot of things that were in this film that was very, well thought out. I think personally the theme of modernisation was very, very well done. I loved the playful way as well, which is done, with the guns, and they're practicing the guns and the 6 shots, and then saying there's 2 more left, and just not being able to control that gun there. That was really well done, and I think the new and old ways, kind of the way it's kind of playing off, in this film was really well thought out, and done in a very enjoyable way, between the characters and the vehicles as well, the way it's done, and just the whole attitudes, of the characters, and the way, how should we go about, this rescue mission with the ransom and all this, and it's really the old ways that prevail in this film. Very interesting, a lot of the characters that go in the cars at first are very quickly wiped out, and John Wayne and such are kind of doing their thing, on horseback, and really tracking, this gang, in their own kind of traditional ways, and that is the one that the kind of method that prevails. So that's really interesting, and I did think there's a lot of themes in this that are very well done, and it's just a very interesting time period in the way it's portrayed. I really do credit the film for that. It's very, very effective in that sense, and just 1909, a very interesting year to portray, and I think just it is priceless to see John Wayne, as I say, pairing up with different characters. Nice to see him with Maureen O'Hara again. She isn't really given too much of a kind of an interesting role really in this film, I believe. I think they could have done a lot more with the character, and it's a shame, but I think it is nice as well, and I do take that as the final film, of her and John Wayne. It's very nice. Some nice moments definitely in this, sort of from Maureen O'Hara, as Martha, but I just think they could have given her more of a role, and she does, kind of drop off, at one point in the film and never really return. That's why I really wanted to see, as I say, the wrap up, and just seeing her again, with John Wayne, that would have been nice. But there are some things, as I say, that aren't fully thought out, just in my opinion. On the other hand, we have a lot of well thought out sequences. The action in this film is really, really engaging. I think a great use of violence in this film, and just as a mythic quality it has at times creeping in there, and just the way in which this time period is portrayed is very, very kind of well done, and I think just it flows very nicely after that first kind of intro. I think it does flow very nicely. The final set piece to this is so well built up with the lightning and all this, very atmospheric. Wasn't fully to my liking. In that whole kind of sequence is a bit too much in the dark there. Could have been a bit better, and obviously, as I say, the way it culminates is not truly for my liking. But really, in between the very beginning and the end, I think this film is very, very good. At times, there are some great moments. I do love a lot of this film, in the middle of this, and I just think the way it kind of progresses is very nice. As I say, a nice flow. The editing is very, very strong at times, and the visuals to this film absolutely stunning. So very good direction from George Sherman, and I think the performances, just very, very enjoyable. Loved a lot of the characters in this at times, and John Wayne is just classic, in this. Patrick Wayne, Christopher Mitchum, obviously the son of Robert Mitchum in this film. I thought, as Michael, he was very good. Just everyone's good in this film, and the villain as well. Richard Boone playing the villain. I thought he was very, very good. A kind of a strong presence throughout, and also it's quite fun to see the interactions between him and John Wayne. Especially in the end, and so yeah, I think overall a very good film. Let down by the beginning and the end, but I think in between we have a very, very strong Western film. So overall, my rating for this film is an 81%. So a very high score for me. I definitely loved, aspects of this film. I think the middle in particular was so enjoyable. It's a very charming film, very comforting to watch. It really ticked a lot of the boxes, for a just highly enjoyable John Wayne film to put on and relax into. And it was just, it's quite brutal at times, but it is overall a film that I think is very comedic and very light-hearted, a lot of the time, and it's a very fun film, but also there's quite a few things in this that are to praise, the themes of modernisation in particular, the way that's done, and the themes of, the old and the new ways, even just in the simple way of the rescue mission, getting, of course, little Jake back. It really is very, very interesting, and there's a lot of things in this film. The final, obviously, pairing between Maureen O'Hara and John Wayne, and the final George Sherman film, who directed this film very, very well, definitely to praise, and very interested in seeing more of his films as well. I think this is a film that I do really, really like, and I think that the beginning and the end, kind of lets it down a bit, and the way things culminated, I would have wanted more closure, and it could have elevated the film definitely higher. But definitely, undeniably, a very, very enjoyable film, very funny, and just one that I found to be quite epic in places as well. And obviously, it's cool to see Patrick and Ethan Wayne, in this film with John Wayne playing the son and grandson as well, respectively. Fascinating entry. In the grand scheme of things as well, it's one of the final John Wayne films. He'd done 8 more films, after this, and the final being the shootist. So in terms of his massive career, it is one of the closing films that he made, really, and in the 70s, and that's really interesting as well. And just a film that I thoroughly enjoyed, really, from start to finish, for the most part. So yes, that's my thoughts. What do you think on this film? It'd be fascinating to hear, and it'd be really a pleasure as always to discuss westerns, in the comments. John Wayne films. There'll be many more to come on the channel, obviously, and as many as I can do, because he's one of my favourite actors, among them, and I think in terms of westerns, he's one of the very, very best defining actors in the genre. So more John Wayne films to come, more westerns to come. I have a playlist as well for my westerns, on the channel, which I'll leave in the description. There's quite a few that I've done, and certainly many more to come on the channel. So look forward to that, and that will be in the description as well. The playlist for that, so you can check out that. If you want to see more westerns that I've done on the channel, covered and over the years, and yes, I'll be doing many, many more this year and going forward as well. So, I always love discussing westerns, on the channel. It's one of my very favourite, kind of genres, and I just love John Wayne as well, as an actor. So it's great to discuss, all these things. I look forward to that, and more content as well to come very, very soon, in general on the channel. So yes, as always, take care and thanks for watching.